Hello there, Megan Bayless-Bartley. To continue our introduction to the Mindfulness for Stress Management 101 class, we're just going to do a little bit of what you can expect from these first few weeks of classes, or, to get started. So one thing we want you to do is to find a comfortable seated position. That's very important. To be comfortable in your clothing or attire, whether that means you're warm enough or cool enough, your legs are able to sustain sitting in a certain position. You have socks on perhaps so that your feet are warm, or if you don't like socks, take those socks off. We're gonna probably leave shoes outside the door just so they don't get in the way, so be prepared for that. And let's just practice a little bit. So once you find your comfortable seated position, I'm going to just kind of walk you through a lot of mindfulness options. So I like to close my eyes. If you're not comfortable closing your eyes, you don't have to close your eyes, but that helps me sort of focus internally. It's a large percentage of what we take in sensory-wise is through our eyes. I think it's like 70+%. So I like to kind of just, tune in, if you will, to my body, noticing me sitting here in the studio with a yoga block under my sits bones and my legs cushioned by a yoga mat and a blanket, just noticing, just kind of like narrating to myself. And I'm doing this without any judgment. So I may notice if my hips are feeling tight or achy or whatever other adjective you might give to it, but I'm not subscribing I'm not valuing it or evaluating it. So it's not good or bad or right or wrong. So we're sitting here noticing what we're sitting on. We might begin to notice the sounds in the room, whether it's the sound of my voice leading this class, whether it might be the sounds of people breathing or shifting and moving to find their comfortable seated position. And then we might notice the sounds outside of this room, whether it be still within this building or the creaking of the building. We're sort of tuning into our bodies and our space, bringing our attention in a sensory type way, right? You're noticing how it feels sitting, how the clothes feel on our skin, without judgment. However, we may make a note to say, I might want to wear different pants next time, or I'm kind of hot, I'm going to take this off, and I can do that, right? That's okay. Or you can notice the heat, and you can just sort of sit with the heat for a minute and see, what would it feel like if I left this vest on? Or what would it feel like if I decided to take the vest off? And if I took the vest off, I can also change my mind and put the vest back on. So we were talking about what we're hearing. See, the mind's job is to wander. My mind just wandered, even as I was helping you here. Focus your attention. The mind's job is to wander. Our job in mindfulness is to pay attention to where the mind has wandered to, and see if we want to choose to gently bring it back to where we had intended it to be. So where we had intended it to be is on what we're hearing. What's in this room, what's in this building, outside of this room, what's outside of this building, cars going by, rain tapping on the window, just noticing it. And you might hit a point where you start to notice if you're holding your breath, right? And you don't have to change your breath in any way. The breath will breathe itself. If you choose to take a deep breath, you may notice that your body feels a little bit differently after that breath. So all of this is about noticing. We're going to start with just noticing, and ideally noticing without judgment. Now, I tell beginners, when you notice yourself judging yourself, don't beat yourself up for judging yourself, right? You would make it worse if you're just like, oh man, I just noticed I told myself I'm not doing a good enough job, or whatever the thing might be. So part of this is finding some grace and forgiveness for being human and for, this being something new for you. You can think back to something that you started that was really new for you and that it did not maybe come super easy. This is where we're at. We're starting a practice, and it takes a while for it to feel easy or to get easier. So this is a challenge. You've decided to take a challenge. And what's neat about this challenge is that you will be rewiring your brain in a way to be more mindful. Just because you're setting this intention to take this class and to learn more about how to become more mindful. So that's your intention of learning how to be more mindful, or how you already are mindful. And then you're also rewiring your brain by just noticing, right? Not placing any judgment on it is another way you're rewiring your brain. Is this saying like, oh, I'm feeling kind of cold and I don't like that. Instead of saying I don't like that, say, okay, it's just cold. It is what it is. When we pay attention to noises, sometimes we get super irritated if we're feeling distracted by noises. And in this practice, we're going to allow any sounds to just sort of wash over us. Almost like the soothing wave where you may register those sounds or noises, or perhaps you don't register them at all. That's all a practice. And as you practice it, your neural pathways start to go in different directions. It's like if you, for a long time, were lifting weights with this one arm and you said, you were judging yourself, judging everybody else, short with yourself, mad at yourself, mad at others, mad at the world, right? You have been in a feedback loop exercising that muscle that probably at this point doesn't feel so great anymore. So now you're saying, I need a change. I need to do something differently. So you're choosing to put the weight in the other hand, and you're going to lift this muscle of mindfulness and start to create a positive feedback loop with mindfulness, noticing how wonderful it feels, noticing the benefits of it. And at the same time, since you're not giving so much attention to this, every once in a while, you may pick up that weight, go over here, judge yourself, judge others. But in the end, this muscle is going to atrophy and sort of start to die off, if you will, while you're paying more attention over here to mindfulness, how well you're doing, the excitement of where will this all lead. So those are just some things to get you started, get ready for class. We hope to see you. Remember to register online. We'll see you then.